Hello everyone, my name is N02, member of Group 5. Good to see you all. I'm delighted to be here today to present to you the article Foreign Language Student Perceptions about the Effectiveness of Vocabulary Acquisitions Through Games. Our group has 5 members, respectively Anh Thu, Phuong Uyen, Hoai, Thuong, Ngoc, Nguyen, and Nguyen. Our presentation is divided into 7 parts, and I will undertake to present the first sections. Now I'm going to tell you about the abstract. First, the background of the topic. An extensive vocabulary helps with all aspects of communications, including listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Second, research gaps. The rate point in the foundation subject of English has shown many juniors unable to achieve their full potential in language learning, which is essential for their future career due to a limited vocabulary. Next, please. The purpose of the study. This study includes the perceptions of students on how to acquire vocabulary through games and keeping it effect on themselves. Not only the value, it's also the benefit of maintaining the advantages of increasing vocabulary within the recent methodologies taught at Văn Lang universities. Either method to be a beginner of intensive language learning or attempts to build up vocabulary contained in the experiment. Next, please. In this article, we use the symbol is foreign language students at Văn Lang universities. Next, please. Our group has used quantitative research and using Google Forms and presenting numbers from foreign language students at Văn Lang universities. Next, please. Next, please. About the result, this study include the perceptions of students on how to acquire vocabulary through games and keeping it effect on themselves, not only the value, it also the benefit of maintaining the advantages of increasing vocabulary within the recent methodologies taught at Văn Lang University. Next, please. Now, let's move to the introductions. Language learning games are the foremost effective ways to promote language learning. Problem statement. Vietnamese students have a habit of learning new words in terms of pronunciations, uses, and examples through the teacher explanations in class. In vocabulary lessons, students often just listen and take note in their notebook without learning how to apply new words in real situations. This way of learning each word separately is not very effective in building student vocabulary. Next, please. Many learners benefit from and are encouraged by games to learn the target language more easily. To put it another way, game-based learning can provide a meaningful context for the language learning process. Next, please. The significance of the study. This learning method inspires students to work together because they frequently involve friendly competitions and foster a collaborative learning environment. As a result, vocabulary games help students use English in a flexible, communicative manner while also bringing context from the real world into the classroom. Next, please. At the end of my part, I will invite my groupmate to continue our presentations.
Hello, I am Phuong, and now I'm gonna present literature review. So let's review. Um, Learner compared to the past are somewhere demanding in the terms of force skill, and two vocabulary is the first need to be improved. Learning vocabulary through game is an relaxing learning experience, and it helps learner eliminate anxieties and fear of language. According to Rama from 2016 participants in the study were students in race 7 who study English said that learn, playing a game is fascinating and comical for the vast majority of the students. The way that students behave toward games and activity may dedicate how much they actually love the game and activities. From there, learners enjoy the activities and improve their vocabulary thanks to this learning. The process of learning vocabulary through game include many activities, role playing, interview, among others, and students invited into small teams to complete the activities through game. They memorize the assigned vocabulary and try to find out to execute. A survey was conducted by 38 students at junior high school, which showed that word game can encourage people and their interest in learning new words, making it easier for them to memorize these new words, according to Hidayah from 2016. Nextly, in August to October 2020, a survey was carried out at Toga, Ecuador, and according to Nguyen from 2021, state that a game is a form of media that may be used for both playing and learning, and its book creativities relax the mind and make people happy in an ever evolving societies. Studies show that create a new atmosphere is like relating the brain, which have us to be more creative and learn faster. Moreover, they will be able to understand the lesson easier and less stressed than ever before without the applications of the game. One of the most crucial aspects of learning English is vocabulary, and it is regarded as the most crucial for those studying English as a second language because they are enabled to explain the thought that have been conveyed to them due to their restricted vocabulary, according to L. Ukashis in 1988. That's why many people chose game as the mean of learning vocabulary because its effectiveness. The study participants were 30 young students from elementary school in vacancies, and the result show that young students increase their work knowledge through game. That is the end of my presentations. Moving on to Nguyen, she will continue.
Hi, I'm Nguyen, so I'm continuing with my part. The pictures you in the game uplift students' progress, and in school they decide to learn. To reduce the difficulty, students have learning vocabulary, increase motivations, and improve student accomplishment of vocabulary mastery. The researchers conduct three cycles according to Rickmini and Stubble 2013. There is a lot of anticipation that teachers will adopt and respect the function of games as user results of the student findings, students can increase their mental vocabulary by learning new words and in an interesting new learning environment, as and Buddies and Varsoli said 2013. According to Hasmi 2021, any target language, but notably reading comprehension, is thought to benefit greatly from the development of vocabulary as one of the language sub-skills. According to Robert Truss 2014, recent survey information of one on the use of a vocabulary learning system Quizlist from 131 Japanese university students were gathered. So I introduced my friend to continue.
Hello everyone, my name is Quynh and I'll continue the part of the literature review. Next slide please. So as we all know, vocabulary is an important factor when it comes to learning and teaching English because this competence develops other language abilities such as reading, speaking and writing is very important guideline in foreign language classes. According to studies, because the children's brain is still developing, they will learn languages faster and easier than of an adult. Therefore, many creative teaching methods are conducted to teach young students, one of which is using game in teaching language. Research by Jeffrey and Elias, 2017, on 5 young male students have shown that by learning English through games, their motivation for learning has increased and their speaking and reading skills has noticeably been improved as well. In other words, learning vocabulary through games method can be very successfully taught and learned with good materials among English learners and especially young learners. The purpose of our study is to offer a few examples from the concern with the use of vocabulary games in learning target words. Rahipur and Sabah 2012, for example, stated that typical tasks such as memorizing of extensive vocabulary lists, derivation, word repetition, translation, and fill in the blank exercise are dull for learners. Therefore, the learning process will be more beneficial if vocabulary games are used. This method may make vocabulary learning more entertaining, allowing learners to memorize English words easier. Next slide, please. Effendi 2013 did research on the use of promote vocabulary knowledge in a similar vein. The goal of his study was to describe how the Got It game and Back to Board game improved the 7th grade students' vocabulary mastery. His study was a type of classroom action research in which the researcher acts as the instructor in charge of the educational activity. He uses an observation checklist, a field note, and a test to collect data. His study included 79 7th grade pupils and subjects. His research, his research is divided into 4 primary steps: planning, implementing, observing, and reflecting. The study's finding reveals that using the Got It game and Back to the Board game with the theme's vocabulary of everyday English conversation, people's work, personal care, and appearance might increase the student's vocabulary mastering and accomplishment. But however, vocabulary learning and teaching, especially in Vietnam, is still tied to the traditional method, which is the repetitive learn by heart method. So in order to understand the effect of the traditional method to Vietnamese students, a survey about what vocabulary learning methods can be adapted to the level and learning style of non-English native students by Mr. Phuong 2012 was conducted at Javins University for over 400 students at all levels colleges and universities of class 2009. The results shows that out of a total of 370 answer sheets, 78.1% use the repetitive method, while other methods were used relatively or unknown by students. This result had implied that because the repetitive method has always been used in vocabulary teaching and learning, Vietnamese students are convinced that this is the absolute method for learning vocabulary. As a result, although the game learning method has proven its applicability, the traditional repetitive method is still widely referred due to being the most used method in learning and teaching vocabulary. That's all about my part. Let's move on to our next friend.
Hi everyone, my name is Uyen. I will carry on the next part. In this part, I would like to tell you about research gaps. This article generally provides valuable information for EFL teachers, especially regarding the use of game in teaching vocabulary when and Nghe persuade readers that vocabulary games are beneficial in increasing student communicative competence and should not be regarded solely as a recreational activity. They provide some arguments in support for their ideas beyond the effectiveness of vocabulary games. They eventually suggest some factors to consider when selecting the type of game to use in the classroom. Net. Another weakness in the research limited the time frame. On the contrary, they write in the outcome marks of the student. We wonder if the state number refers to the total number of students in all classes or to the total number of students in each class. We also require more information about the student English proficiency levels. To the best of now our knowledge, the information is required to demonstrate whether vocabulary games are opportunity for beginner or higher levels. As we believe that vocabulary games work best with beginner and low intermediate level students. SNET. Some research has confirmed the effectiveness of game in teaching vocabulary to students at these levels. In addition, they should also have a plan. Why the two different locations for the action, research and classroom observation? The frequency with which action research is conducted in the second point is related to a lack of clarity. The frequency with the vocabulary game are played may have a significant impact on the study outcome. The next research question: what difficulty do students often face when learning vocabulary through game? And what are some modifications that may be made to increase students' satisfaction with learning vocabulary through game? So, um, net um, mm, uh, in this part, I would like to tell you about methodology. Mm, Participants, 255 foreign language learners at Valana University were associated with the query experimental research design who has already used to learn through a gameplay method of learning vocabulary. Contributors were requested to fill in 15 questionnaires and answer 5 interview questions to clarify the current acquired vocabulary situation and what factors were suggesting them. And engagement for data collection. An online survey via Google Form were employed for the purpose of this evaluation. The main benefits of this quantitative research is that they involve direct and personal thought contact between surveyor and respondent as well as intimating non-report rates. But surveyor must develop the necessary skills to create useful surveys and obtain the most informative reports. Next, a review of the study. Participants were asked to fill out a multiple choice questionnaire expressing their reference strongly dairy, nature, agree, and highly agree. The information from the 257 responses revealed that the majority of respondents agree with the statements that learning vocabulary through game improve communication abilities, enhances vocabulary, and links the skill of hearing, speaking, reading. Learning vocabulary through game is also an excellent way to relieve stress and express personality. In conclusion, attendants have an English learning ability and are sufficiently able to meet on tasks followed by the study demands. The next, I will invite my partner to continue the next part.
Hello, and I'll continue the design of the study. So this study aims to test the perception of English major students towards learning English vocabulary through games. Within the survey, we used 10 questions about the students' perception about learning through games in particular and learning vocabulary in general. After the survey, we began to analyze the collected data from Google Forms thoroughly and carefully using the quantitative data analysis method. Secondly, we held an interview to a group of 10 students using 5 comprehensive questions. The goal is to further provide personal perspective of each individual for our study in order to provide a more precise data and overall data about the learning vocabulary through game methods that we are researching. Let's move on to our next friend about the discussion.
Hi everyone. So to continue my past discussions. The goal of our research to resolve the difficulty that students are facing when learning vocabulary and to encourage the application of the learning through game method in learning and teaching English vocabulary. So we move on to research question 1. What difficulties do students often face when learning vocabulary through games? So, some students believe that preparing lessons plans with poor content delivery is also a factor that make it difficult for students to acquire vocabulary to game. It also does when applying the new game, teachers have not been able to convey all the content as well as how to use the game for students, creating ambiguity for learners. This research is similar to the study by Pham conducted at Tran University, showing that a percentage of students through this traditional way of learning instead of learning vocabulary through games. The study also showed that students are still attracted to the traditional learning methods and are quite confused about this method of learning through games. Although the methods of learning through game has proven its applicability. After reviewing the collected research, we found that the teacher's lesson design and poor communication are factors that strongly influence student learning through games. Some students feel quite comfortable with new way of learning through game. However, many students cannot accept this new technology. Instead, they choose the traditional way to learning. We cannot rule out that possibility that the transition to a new school environment can bring a lot of dissatisfactions to students. However, the difficulties are only a few and can be improved through the teachers will modify the presentations of the lectures to suit the student, accompanied by more dedicated guidance. This allows students to be less timid and passive and more open to the classroom. Research from the study of Confession showed that methods of learning through game is effective in enhancing student vocabulary. Moreover, from the board research, it is clear that the game can attract student attention and participation. They can motivate students to want to learn more. So, I introduce my friend to continue.
Hello, friends, and now I will answer the research question number 2 about what are some modifications that may be made to increase the students' satisfaction with learning vocabulary through games. So the analysis provides suggests that learning through games has a positive impact on the students. Students who participate in the games did perform better in class. In addition, students who participate in the games appear to be more engaged in the learning process. This was supported by over 50% of the participants in the chart 2 of the survey and the abundant positive comments provided in the interview. In addition, the ratings from chart 5 about the games themselves each received ratings of 80% and above, adding further credibility to the findings. The, obvi- the, obvi- the obvious merit of learning through games is also recognized by the research of Ramas RT 2016 by the positive feedback from the students who participate in the survey, who expressed that the game is very engaging and funny and they love learning activities through game. This further confirms that by learning through these games, students become more interested in classroom activities than ever. As already noted, family playing games has been shown to lighten the mood and facilitate greater creativity and boost the student morale. To further imply the effect of the game method on the feeling of the students, one of the interviewees said that they feel excited while playing vocabulary game, and this method has made English lesson don't seem as boring as they used to. So the study by Abu Rahman 2020 supported our findings that using this strategy of vocabulary acquisition through games significantly improved the students' learning outcomes. We, we noticed that and affirmed that the most crucial talent is vocabulary, which serves as the foundation for all the growth of our other abilities. Students are most likely to memorize than adults, so creative and engaging learning techniques increase their motivation than ever. This method not only helps students remember vocabulary more easily, but also gives students confidence when participating in a constructive speech in the classroom. Mm. And again, the qualitative comments from our interview support this session. That's all about my discussion part. Now let's move on to the final part is the conclusion.
Okay, so I will continue the conclusions. Next, please. Above all, a learner will see impressive results in terms of vocabulary improvements and will gradually consider this learning method as their preferred method. This beneficial vocabulary learning method should be replicated, and we believe that it will become a standard method of learning vocabulary learning in the future. Next, please.
Okay, I will carry on the limitation. Thirdly, a confined disclosure. Obfuscator consisting of gender and level measuring experience were discovered in this study. The second gap is the relatively small sample size of 257 students. It is essential to explain the sampling size to generalize the finding certainly. Next, I will invite you, my partner, to continue the next part. So we move on to implications. The research of the study might help Bangladesh University in general and professors in particular have an objective and detailed view of some implications for students and teachers to use educational games to improve language learning of linguistic students. They are best available for confined times. Game can assist teacher in creating contexts in which the language are valuable and meaningful. The process of learning may not be possible without reflection time. The teachers need to encourage the students to use game as a part of their getting to know procedure. So I continue my friends to continue.
So we move on to the final part is the recommendations. So the current study can be interpreted as a first step in introducing the learning through games method. However, the findings of this study should be treated with caution due to a small scale and the lack of details regarding to the participant characteristic. Uh, so that is all about our presentation about our study. Thank you for listening.